Lenin's fight for the revolutionary program of the Marxist Party during the Second Congress of the RSDLP. Candidate of Historical Sciences A. Strushkov. In the heroic history of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, in the history of the entire international revolutionary movement, the Second Congress of the RSDLP occupies an outstanding place. The Second Congress laid the foundation for the revolutionary Marxist Party of the working class, a party of a new type, fundamentally different from the reformist parties of the Second International. Bolshevism has been a current of political thought and as a political party since 1903. At the Second Party Congress, Lenin and his supporters defended the ideological and organizational principles of a new type of party, which they saw as good, conscious, organized detachment of the working class, armed with revolutionary theory, knowledge of the laws of development of society and class struggle, the experience of the revolutionary movement. The Second Congress of the RSDLP adopted the revolutionary program of the Marxist Party, which expressed both the immediate tasks of the working class at the stage of the bourgeois democratic revolution, and its main tasks, calculated for the victory of the socialist revolution, for the conquest of the dictatorship of the proletariat. The program of the Workers' Party is a concise, scientifically formulated statement of the goals and objectives of the struggle of the working class. The peculiarity of our program, Lenin wrote, is that it is built on a scientific, materialistic worldview. This worldview is Marxism. The Marxist-Leninist theory gives the party the opportunity to confidently orient itself in the situation, to understand the internal connection of the surrounding events, to foresee the course of these events and to recognize how and where they will develop. Marxism Leninism, examining the objective processes of the development of capitalism, shows the inevitability of the death of the capitalist system, the inevitability of the conquest of political power by the proletariat, the regularity of the transition from capitalism to socialism. Marxism-Leninism is the scientific expression of the fundamental interests of the working class. Genuine scientific nature and revolutionary nature of the program adopted by the Second Congress of the party consists in the fact that it is based on a deep knowledge of objective economic laws, reflects the need for the development of the material life of society, the fundamental interests of the people. The first programmatic document of Marxism is the immortal creation of K. Marx and F. Engels, the Manifesto of the Communist Party, written by them on behalf of the Union of Communists, the first international organization of the working class. The spirit of this little book, wrote V.I. Lenin, still lives and moves the entire organized and struggling proletariat of the civilized world. More than 100 years have passed since the publication of the Communist Manifesto. The history of the international workers' movement, especially the history of the struggle of the working class of our country against capitalism, for the victory of the dictatorship of the proletariat and the building of socialism, fully confirms the brilliant vision of Marx and Engels and the correctness of the foundations of the revolutionary world outlook formulated by them. K. Marx and F. Engels revealed the laws of the development of capitalism, showed its historically progressive role in relation to feudalism, proved the transitory nature of capitalism and its historical doom. K. Marx and F. Engels pointed out to the working class its great historical mission, the gravedigger of the capitalist system and the creator of a new, socialist society. They saw that the proletariat is not only an exploited and oppressed class, but also a class that has shown organization and formidable strength in its revolutionary actions. Having substantiated the historical role of the proletariat, K. Marx and F. Engels in the Manifesto of the Communist Party defined the general features of the Communist Party, without the leadership of which the victory of the proletariat is impossible. The Communists, says the Communist Manifesto, are the most decisive, always motivating part of the workers' parties of all countries to move forward, and theoretically they have an advantage over the rest of the proletariat in understanding the conditions, course and general results of the proletarian movement. The revolutionary doctrine set forth in the Manifesto of the Communist Party substantiates the most important thesis about the forcible overthrow of capitalism, about the conquest of political power by the proletariat. It expresses for the first time the most important idea of Marxism, the idea of the dictatorship of the proletariat as a necessary means to achieve the ultimate goal of the labor movement, building a communist society. An important policy document of Marxism is the Critique of the Gotha program, written by Marx in 1875. This work of Marx is directed against the anti-scientific theses and gross opportunist mistakes made by the leaders of the German social democracy on fundamental, programmatic questions. The Critique of the Gotha program sets out the famous theses of Marx on the transition period from capitalism to communism, on the need for the dictatorship of the proletariat during this period. Between capitalist and communist society, wrote Marx, lies the period of the revolutionary transformation of the former into the latter. A political transition period corresponds to this period, and the state of this period cannot be anything other than the revolutionary dictatorship of the proletariat. These words of Marx, wrote Lenin, summed up his entire revolutionary teaching. The revolutionary program document of Marxism, critique of the Gotha program, the opportunist leaders of the German social democracy, including K. Kautsky, wanted to hide from the working class. Thanks to the efforts of F. Engels, the remarkable work of Marx, despite the resistance of the social democratic elite, was published in January 1891. In 1891, the German Social Democratic Party adopted a new program at its Congress in Erfurt. The Erfurt program not only did not put forward demands for the conquest of the dictatorship of the proletariat, it did not even demand the establishment of a republican system. The program carried out the opportunist theory of the peaceful growth of capitalism into socialism, without the forcible overthrow of Prussian absolutism. F. Engels criticized the Erfurt program. A faithful friend and colleague of K. Marx, F. Engels pointed out that the transition from capitalism to socialism is impossible without a violent revolution of the proletariat. Engels considered the main political demand of the working class to be the establishment of a democratic republic, which he regarded as a specific form of the dictatorship of the proletariat. In his critical remarks, Engels expressed the position that the program of the Social Democratic Party should show the main political goal of the party, the destruction of the capitalist system and the establishment of the dictatorship of the proletariat for the construction of communist society, and its immediate task, the destruction of numerous remnants of feudalism and absolutism. Engels' sharp differentiation of the social democratic program into a minimum program and a maximum program is a valuable contribution to the theory and practice of Marxism. For 10 years the leaders of the German social democracy concealed from the international proletariat Engels' critical remarks on the draft Erfurt program. Since the Erfurt program, said Lenin, became a model for the entire Second International, it can be said without exaggeration that Engels criticized the opportunism of the entire Second International. In a fierce struggle against social reformists, anarchists and representatives of petty bourgeois socialism, Marx and Engels unswervingly defended and developed further the programmatic provisions of their revolutionary doctrine. Leninism, which grew and took shape in the era of imperialism and proletarian revolutions, is a direct continuation and development in new historical conditions of the brilliant ideas of Marx and Engels.